Hello, and welcome back. Today we're going to continue the all-time record series with the Dallas Stars. Dallas is an interesting team for me because I've had times where I'll follow them more than I won't, and other times where I just can't be bothered to check in on them. Right now, I'm starting to find them much more interesting, especially with the emergence of Jason Robertson. I've found he's a very fun player to watch. But as far as their overall history goes, there was some stuff that kind of stood out and stuff that really didn't. So much like other teams that have been covered in this series so far, this will cover another location, but it's the same franchise. So all the records get thrown together and we get the total for the franchise itself. So the Stars franchise has been around for 54 seasons. That does include the Minnesota North Stars before they moved to Dallas, and I want to say they were the Cleveland Barons previously. I could be wrong on that though. It's hard to remember with some of the teams I don't follow as much to remember that. I know San Jose's is really weird, but that could be what I'm thinking of. I'm not sure. So, of the 54 seasons, they've had 34 playoff appearances. So, more than 50%, you got to be pretty happy with that as a fan. They do have one Stanley Cup back in 1999 against the Buffalo Sabres. And much like the Sabres video, I do understand. I know it's a point of contention. No, I'm not going to bring up a narrative on that. That's for another video. Of the team's jersey numbers, there are 5 that have been retired: 7, 8, 9, 19, and 26. And they have positive records against 20 teams in the NHL. So gotta feel pretty good about that. That does surprise me a little bit that it's that many, but I digress. So the franchise in total has played 4,253 games. Of those, 1,888 are wins, 1,738 are losses, 459 are ties, and 168 of them are overtime losses. The total wins are taken as is, and as per every other team so far, losses, ties, and overtime losses were all totaled together to get 2365 for a win percentage of 44%. That's not too bad. That's one of the lower numbers that we've covered so far, but not the lowest yet. So, as per so many videos so far, the Seattle Kraken I have omitted as a standout because at 3 games played, the sample size is just far too small. Most teams so far have had Seattle up near the top. Seattle didn't have a great opening season, and this is part and parcel as to why. So the one thing that I found most interesting is that Dallas loves visiting Anaheim. They absolutely love it. So they've had 130 games together, and 65%, almost 66% of those are wins for Dallas. And they've got a plus 82 goal differential, so Dallas has to feel pretty good when they go to visit Anaheim. Columbus, Washington, Ottawa, Edmonton, these are all teams that you really have to feel good about going and seeing. Those are all above 60% wins or points. So yeah, you're gonna take those points when you can get them. So Dallas is part of the Central Division, which means they share the division with the Minnesota Wild, the Winnipeg Jets, now the Arizona Coyotes as of this year, the Nashville Predators, the Colorado Avalanche, the St. Louis Blues, and the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, as we can see, 5 of those teams Dallas has winning records against, so that's gotta... When I say winning records, and this is why it's been a little bit wonky in some situations, is I do mean that they have collected more than 50% of available points against those teams. So in certain small instances, they may not have more wins than losses, but they have more than 50% of points. That's how I drew that. So, and I'm going to continue to draw the line that way. But yeah, other than St. Louis and Chicago, Dallas really doesn't fret too much with divisional points. They really, really do not heading out east, because outside of the division, most of the eastern teams, most of the teams down there are eastern teams. Boston and Montreal, they really don't like facing in the East, but those records, nobody would want to face that. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, I kept counting too far. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of the teams they don't have winning records against are all Eastern teams. 2 of them are Central, and 1 of them comes out of the Pacific, but it is a relatively small sample size. So I'll just say, yeah, Dallas likes to face teams in the West. Nothing really, doing a quick scan, nothing really seems to stand out as a statistical oddity. For the most part, they have positive goal differentials. It looks like not really massive ones, I would say, is what stands out. Tampa Bay, they've got a -2 goal differential. I really wouldn't say that's too much to talk about. They're break even on goals with Florida. Minus goal differential for the Calgary Flames, but they do have a winning record against the Calgary Flames. So what this says is the success that Dallas has typically doesn't come from a lot of firepower. It comes from a good defensive game, making it so that the other team can't score so easily. There's a couple outliers in there. Again, like Anaheim, they walk in and it looks like they, for the most part, tee off. But yeah, other than that, these differentials really don't run away from each other at all. But when they lose to teams out east, yeah, it looks like they really start to do that in a big way. New York Rangers, for example, it's 415 versus 499. So that's 284 versus 342 per game. That tells you you're going to struggle against those teams. But I can honestly say I'm not overly surprised about the tight goal differentials and some of the negative ones, because watching Dallas, the Calgary Flames, again, who are local, have faced Dallas twice in the playoffs. Actually, yeah, their last 2 times they've been in the playoffs, they've faced Dallas, and every time it's a slog. Calgary wound up beating Dallas this year, but it was a slog. Calgary had a ton of firepower this year, and just nothing worked. Part of that was goaltending, part of it was defense, but those scores, everyone is expecting Calgary would just absolutely tee off on Dallas, and you'd have scores like 5-2, 6-2 in Calgary's favor, and they would just walk away with it. And Dallas went, no, defense is kind of our game. So yeah, negative goal differentials and tight goal differentials are not overly surprising with this team. That's what I expected to see. One thing that I have pointed out in a previous video, but I've always said as a narrative over the last little while with Dallas, is they have a systemic scoring issue that they just are not resolving, where they're getting their wins, but they're getting tight wins by 1 or 2 goals, and they're losing games badly because they're not scoring. The goaltending, and for a good portion their defense, aren't the reasons you look at and go, that's why they lost this game or this number of games. So they need to get that figured out. If they have the ability to shake up whatever it is that they need to start being able to tee off on teams, get that. Although Seguin and Benn are good players, they just apparently do not have the ability to score the way you would expect your top two players to score. Think of McDavid, Draisaitl, your Malkin and Crosby, something like that. But that being said, with the addition of Jason Robertson, definitely does not help as long as he can continue pace. But I would like to see Dallas crawl back into being a top team, not just a middling team. Because I think the fans of Dallas really need to see that kind of a success again. But that being said, if there's anything that anybody would like to add that they know about the franchise's history, I'd love to see it down in the comments section below. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of them, hit subscribe. I am going to try and keep videos rolling daily at 11 o'clock. In theory, the trick is scheduling them. That's why I like YouTube. But that being said, if you do want to talk additional hockey outside of YouTube, I do have a Twitter. I'm getting a little bit better with this. It is at CPTJohnny15 because Captain Johnny did not fit, which made me sad. I'm not going to lie. That made me a little sad. And yeah, that's going to be the best place to keep a conversation rolling if you want to talk more hockey and drop your thoughts with me. Until the next video, which will be Detroit next. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, and all the best.